Good day everyone, my name is Alex and welcome to a new review. For today we have another Chinese smartphone called the Maze Blade, and this phone reminds me a lot of a Sony Xperia phone just because we have the same plain super shiny back and the large bezels all around the screen. The phone costs around $100 to $120, but it really depends where you're gonna buy it from. For specs, we have the MediaTek 6753 CPU. This is an octa-core CPU clocked at 1.3 GHz. We also have 3 GB of RAM, 32 GB of internal storage. The device is running Android 6.0.1, and we also have a 5.5-inch screen with a 1080p resolution. Size-wise, well, the phone is massive and it's just as big as a Samsung Galaxy S8 Plus, but keep in mind that the S8 Plus actually has a 6.2 inches display versus 5.5 on this device. So yeah, the phone is definitely big and you're not gonna be able to use this phone holding it in one hand. The phone's design, it's not bad, but I really wish the phone would have been a bit smaller because for a 5.5-inch screen the phone is just humongous. So we have a metallic frame and a super shiny back. Now the back looks good as long as you have it clean. Whenever it's not clean, I have to say it doesn't look good at all. On the back we also have a 13 megapixel camera, the dual tone flash, a secondary microphone, and all the way at the bottom the Maze brand. On the right hand side we have three buttons, the power button, the volume keys, and what's called the smart button. So with that button you can set different apps to launch whenever you hold that button pressed, and you can also take pictures with that button. So if you have the camera app open, you can just take pictures pressing that button there. Moving to the top, there we have the 3.5mm audio jack, but the sound coming out of the audio jack, it's not the greatest, so even though it gets quite loud, it lacks bass and clarity. Moving on the left hand side of the phone, there we have the slot for the SIM card, so this device can take either two SIM cards or a SIM card and an SD card. The SD card can also be used as internal storage, and speaking about the internal storage, out of the 32 gigs that comes with the device, we have about 25 left, but the speeds that I got for the internal storage are quite good. At the bottom we have what looks to be like two speakers, but we only have one speaker in reality. There is also a micro USB charging port and a microphone. The speaker gets loud enough, but it lacks bass, therefore it doesn't sound that great. The phone also supports OTG, and that means that you can plug in any USB stick and the phone will be able to read whatever you have on that USB stick. And charging the phone from 0 to 100, it's done in about 2 hours and 20 minutes. The Maze Blade has a non-removable 3000 mAh battery, but as you know that MediaTek 6753, it's not that power efficient. Therefore you're kind of gonna make it through an entire day and get about 4 hours to 4 hours and a half of screen on time. So definitely the battery life from this device is not the best. The front of the phone doesn't look good at all, well, at least in my opinion. So first of all, we have large bezels all around the screen. On top of that we have a huge forehead and an even bigger chin. So yeah, the phone doesn't look good at all from the front. At the top we have an LED notification light. We also have an 8 megapixel front-facing camera and a speaker. Now the pictures that I took with the front-facing camera look quite good, and even in low light conditions, and of course the pictures that you've just seen were taken with this device. And when I said that the pictures look good in low light conditions, I meant compared to the rear camera, because you're gonna see some samples from the rear camera later on. Now the 5.5-inch screen, so we have a resolution of 1080p. I have to say that the screen does get bright enough to be seen outside, has great viewing angles, and the colors are nice and vibrant. The screen sensitivity is also great, and I haven't had any issues whenever I was typing or playing games. So you can touch the screen in 5 places at the same time and the screen will register. And moving all the way to the bottom of the phone, where we have that humongous chin, there you're gonna find the home button, which is also a fingerprint scanner. We also have the multitasking button, which is sitting on the right hand side, and the back button that's sitting on the left. The fingerprint scanner, it's accurate 9 out of 10 times, but it's not the fastest out there, so it's gonna take you a second after you press the button for the screen to come on. The phone's performance is decent, but don't imagine for a second that you're getting a powerhouse. So of course the scores that we got on the Antutu benchmark and the Geekbench 4 are kind of low. Even with those low scores you can still browse the internet using Chrome, and that's done without any issues. I guess it could have been smoother, and I've seen Chrome smoother on other devices, but overall it's decent enough. Using the YouTube app, the maximum resolution is 1080p, and the videos that I've watched seem to go very smooth as well. The gaming performance, it's also okay, but if you're gonna play some more graphics intensive games, you're gonna see some skipped frames. But overall, for a phone that costs around $100 and $110, I think that the performance is okay. The GPS unit inside this phone takes a few seconds to find your location, but after that it works without any issues, and of course using Google Maps works good without any problems. Now for sensors, we don't really have that many sensors, so realistically we only have 3 sensors, and we don't have a gyroscope either. The phone supports 4G connectivity, but we don't have dual band Wi-Fi, and the speeds that I got over 4G and Wi-Fi are okay, but I've seen much better speeds over Wi-Fi in the past. As I mentioned at the beginning, on the back we have a 13 megapixel camera. The camera app looks just like all the other MediaTek devices that we've seen in the past. I mean, it's changed just a little bit, but overall it's the exact same app. So the app, it's not that fast and it doesn't have that many options. And whenever you're using the HDR mode, well, it's very, very slow. So overall the camera app, it's nothing special. The picture quality, it's great as long as you have enough light. As soon as you don't have enough light, the pictures become quite blurry, and realistically you can't really see what's happening in those pictures that you're gonna take in low light conditions. So good for daytime pictures, but not for nighttime pictures. The Maze Blade, it's using Android 6, and who knows if this phone will ever see an update for Android 7. I highly doubt it. So the launcher that they chose to use looks a lot just like stock Android. I like the fact that if you swipe right from your home screen, you're gonna get right into the Google Now app, and that's a cool feature to have. Now, opening new apps, closing apps, scrolling in between screens, and everything that I've done with the phone, including multitasking, seems to work very good and without any lag. The settings app looks a lot like stock Android, however we have a whole bunch of added features and extra settings in there. So first of all, we have the Chinese version of NFC, but that doesn't mean that we actually have NFC. It's something like NFC, and you're not going to be able to use Android Pay. Aside from that, we have some gestures, so you can actually turn on the phone by tapping the screen, double tapping the screen. And aside from that, we have a whole bunch of other gestures and settings that could be useful for some users. Overall, the phone, it's not bad, but it's not amazing either. But considering the price of around $110, $120, I think it performs quite good. Now, me personally, I cannot stand this huge chin at the bottom. It's like this big for no reason whatsoever. And that makes the phone just way too big for my taste. I mean, a phone that has a 5.5-inch screen that's as big as my Samsung Galaxy S8 Plus, that's a bit too big. Alright guys, hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did like it, press that like button, don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.